Welcome everyone to the Community IT Innovators webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about a very popular topic, Office 365 for nonprofits. Just a few webinar tips before we get started. We encourage you all to ask questions, so you can post questions via chat. And we'll also be asking you a few poll questions during the webinar. So it'd be great if you can respond to that. If possible, avoid multitasking. And finally, we often get asked if we're going to be providing the PowerPoint and the recording afterwards. So yes, we'll be sharing that via email afterwards. Just a little bit about Community IT Innovators. We help nonprofits with their strategic and day-to-day IT challenges. And we've worked with over 900 nonprofits since 1993 in the DC metropolitan area. Our presenter today is Johanny Torrico, who is the Director of Ongoing Support. And I'm going to hand it over to her so she can go ahead and go into the presentation. And again, like I said earlier, feel free to post questions to us. We will take a break in the middle to answer any questions that you have.
Thanks, Roshan. Hello, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Again, my name is Johanny Torrico, and I'm the Director of Ongoing Support here at Community IT. I'm also a Microsoft Certified IT Professional for Office 365, and I have been involved in one way or another in all the Office 365 migrations that we have completed. And I have to say that I have seen firsthand Office 365 and its evolution in the past 2 to 3 years. My intention for this webinar is to create a good understanding or a fair understanding of what Office 365 is, what is offered to nonprofits, and some other key elements that are very important for you to know, especially if you're looking into Microsoft Cloud offering Office 365 as an alternative for your organization. Okay, before we begin, let's just start by having you answer this poll. How many staff are in your organization? Okay. So far, 1 to 20. It's the winner, 40%, 45% average. Good. And 20 to 50, 25%, 25, 30% average. All right. Thank you all for your time. All right. And Roshani will be posting the results. All right. Okay. So I wanted to kick this webinar with an introduction of Office 365. So how did we get to Office 365, or how did Microsoft get to Office 365? As I prepared for this webinar, I was quite amazed to see how the most basic Microsoft applications have evolved over the years. Since the 80s, when Microsoft launched Word and Excel, Microsoft's very basic application, or most basic applications. And, they launched also production applications such as Exchange and, another service operating systems that gave organizations file sharing capabilities that made it easier for organizations to collaborate in the office, in an office environment. So Microsoft's products have continuously evolved, and users have grown to depend on these applications. In 2008, Microsoft stepped out of their comfort zone with local applications, and also with a little push from Google's momentum at that time. Microsoft launched its cloud service to the public, and back in 2008, it was called BPOS, Business Productivity Office Suite. BPOS only offer at that time Exchange Online, which is your email service, and a very basic SharePoint Online, which is more of a kind of a collaboration tool. BPOS evolved and became Microsoft Office 365 in 2011, and introduce its Office web apps with that, and bundle also Microsoft's unified communication tool, Link. Recently, starting actually this year in early 2013, I would say that Office 365, with the update of the environment that they were using, given Office 365 the Office 2013 flat look to align with the Office 2013 suite, make a good change. And in addition to the cosmetic changes, Microsoft also had some other updates, like, to the Exchange Online, for example, or even SharePoint. On the Exchange, the admin control panel was more, you could do more things in the Exchange control panel. So as an IT admin, you could, for example, now with the 2013 upgrade, it allows for creation of public folders, permission. So a lot of things that you before had to do with PowerShell on the old Office 365 system, now you can use the interface, or the user interface, to do a lot of these tasks that before require you a little bit of knowledge, well, a little bit more than a little bit of knowledge of PowerShell and scripting. So I really think that Microsoft is committed to make Office 365 a robust enterprise solution for organizations, and it has actually the advantage, of course, of decades of users like us or like me working with their applications and making it seamless and organic to follow their transition path. Okay, but what is Office 365? By this time, we all have probably heard one way or another about Office 365. Office 365 is Microsoft's cloud collaboration tool, and it bundles Microsoft production applications like Exchange, SharePoint, and also includes Microsoft Office applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and makes that available in the web, Microsoft Office web apps. All right, so let's see what is included in Office 365. Office 365 it's comprised of 4 main components. Exchange Online, which is the main component, I would say, for Office 365, and the one component that organizations are especially looking seriously to when making the decision to migrate to Office 365. Email service is very important. So Exchange Online is the Office 365 component that hosts your organization's email. In addition to carry the features most of us are used to from Microsoft local Exchange application, it offers some additional things that makes it a very compelling solution, such as, it offers a large space per user per mailbox, 25 gigs to be exact. It also provides you with an online archiving, which means that you can have access to your email archives using Outlook Web Access, or you can see your archives on your local Outlook as well. So you can take your archives anywhere, basically. So that, I think those are 2 very important things to rescue as kind of a, nice benefits to have when you transition from your local Exchange to Office 365. The next piece is SharePoint Online. SharePoint is a collaboration and a document management tool. Some of the things that you can do with SharePoint Online are, for example, you can create a team collaboration site, or what we call intranet. And within this, you can have document libraries, and you can actually have very specific permissions, permissions by individual, by group, for these libraries. You can have things like, I don't know, an organizational calendar, a shared contact piece or app. It's what they are calling it right now. You can have notification boards, you can have blogs, etc. So it's a very powerful tool. It is a little complicated to learn, but it's very useful. All right, the other piece is Link Online. Link Online is Microsoft Unified Communication Tool. It brings instant messaging. and instant messaging that an online presence. So, and that interacts very well with your Outlook, with Exchange Online, with your Outlook client, especially on the Outlook web access, where you can see who is available in your organization. You can instant message from your Outlook web access client. It offers also point-to-point video and audio capabilities. You can launch a video call with another person within your organization and have a kind of a video meeting or a video call. You can also have audio capabilities, so you can basically use it as a phone. And also with additional hardware, it can also replace your PBX or phone system. But that is a little, it involves a lot of cost in terms of hardware. All right, the other two pieces there, it also offers Office web apps for all Microsoft Office applications that we are used to, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. And with the Office web apps, I would say that it has a very, it mirrors a lot your Office local applications, but there, of course, there are some step-down capabilities given it that it's a web-based, it's a web-based application. So things like macros, for example, those are things that you cannot do with Office web apps. The last one there, it's also, depending on your plan, you can download your Office suite locally, the latest Office suite available, and you can download it, to 5 different instances. All right, so now these are the components for Office 365. Let's see, what else? All right, so what plans are out there? Microsoft has separated the Office 365 offering in these 4 main areas. You have Office 365 for home use, business, which, within business you have 3 components: small, mid-size, and enterprise. Then you have your government offering and the education offering. The price chart for all of these offerings vary, and honestly, the pricing is very complicated, as we're probably used to with Microsoft. So I'm gonna be sharing a link at the end of this presentation and one slide so that you can review all the offerings and the pricing. Microsoft nonprofit pricing falls under the enterprise plan. I think that is important for us to know, since we don't see nonprofit plan here, so I don't want you to be scared. Prices on a small business go from $5 to $15, while the enterprise plans are from $4 to $20 per user per month, and it depends. For example, the more expensive enterprise plan allows you for, it gives you extra space on the email, it gives you extra space for your SharePoint site. It also gives you, the ability to download Office into 5 different devices per user. All right. So let's take a moment now to respond, Johanny, to another poll. All right. What email solution do you use in your organization? So go ahead and take a moment to respond to that. And I do have a question here that I think I can answer right now. What is the compatibility like with iPads? Any apps for these sort of devices? Yeah, actually Office 365 has a very, very good app, and it makes it very easy to navigate with your iPad, and you can use the iPad native email client and set up your your Exchange Online account there and use it just fine. In fact, I do have one iPad, and I use my Office 365 test account and have no issues with it. All right, so Let's see. So we have 40% of you are hosting mail in-house. 30% are using some sort of third-party hosted exchange. 10% are already using Office 365. 15% are using Google Apps, and the rest of us are using some other means of email. I'm assuming it can be POP or IMAP. Okay, thank you, Roshan. Roshan is going to be posting the results. All right. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, so this is a big piece. So the next, earlier in this webinar, I mentioned that one thing that drives organizations to migrate to Office 365 mainly is the email piece. Some of the questions organizations face when making these decisions are, why can I keep hosting? Why can I just host my email in-house? Or why should I leave my hosted exchange provider? Or I'm using Google Apps right now. Why should I move to Office 365? So the upcoming slides were put together to hopefully help you make an informed decision. Okay. So how does Office 365 compare with hosting email in-house? How does it compare with having an email server in the office, essentially? So Microsoft Cloud environments provide, a state-of-the-art environment, and they have spent a lot of money on their data centers. So it's hard to kind of, compare what you can do in your office with what Microsoft offers. But I think there are two main things to consider: cost and resources. So the organization should answer questions like, before making a decision to move to the cloud or upgrade and keep your email in-house. How long can the organization function without email? 1 week, a month, 3 days, an hour? And the other one, do they have enough, do the organization have enough resources to implement a strong disaster recovery plan and backup solution? If a disaster strikes and you lost your data, do we have the resources to implement a strong backup system in a disaster recovery? So these questions are going to help shape your strategy in terms of cost. Okay. So what type of cost are we talking about? We're talking about hardware cost. The cost for going and buying new servers, cost of buying new software, cost to get new licenses. Another thing to know is the ongoing investment. If you decide to keep your email server in-house, down the road, 4 or 5 years, you have to plan to have another investment to keep hosting email in-house. So that's a good point to consider. In addition to the hardware cost, we have others like additional internet costs. So you want your email to be available at all times. Then you will need to probably invest in a secondary internet connection. That's more money, so that if one connection fails, you have redundancy. It fails to the secondary connection, and your mail server is still up. So you don't, the chances of an interruption are shorter. Okay, so you invested in hardware and everything else that I mentioned. The next thing to consider also is, you want your email server to be reliable. That will translate into resources, meaning you will need resources around IT support staff to make sure you maintain your environment and perform things like systems and application updates that are very important. If disaster strikes, like I mentioned earlier, let's say there is a flood in your office, your server is ruined, your data is completely lost. In this case, you have to make sure you have reliable backups, backups offsite somewhere else, and a good disaster recovery in place. And all of those things are very costly. Okay, so all right. So let's move into how does it compare with in-house mail servers. What about hosted exchange? What do we mean by hosted exchange? Hosted exchange is a cloud exchange service provided by different vendors. Vendors like Rackspace, Intermedia, Mailstreet. These providers have instances of exchange applications running on different data centers, and they provision space and applications to their customers. There are different factors that make it compelling, I think, to migrate to Office 365 instead of migrating to, another hosted exchange provider. I think the main one is pricing. For example, Microsoft Office Exchange only plan is $4 per user per month, and they offer the 25 gig space that I was talking about. So it makes it very hard for the other competitors to go, to kind of compete in that arena in terms of pricing. The average pricing for the hosted exchange vendors other than Microsoft are between $8 and $14 per user per month, average. Another pain point with hosted exchange providers is the space allotted by user. The majority of these hosted exchange providers give you a standard mailbox of 2 gigs. And anything above that is additional cost. So that's another thing to consider. Support for mobile devices. Microsoft or Office 365 integrates simply, like I say, with iPhones, iPads, Android. And the other thing also that they offer is BlackBerry, the BlackBerry Cloud service, which make it very easy for BlackBerry users to integrate with their Office 365 email. Other providers also offer the mobile device support, but at an additional premium. So that is good to know. The last piece here is security. It's very, I think other than maybe Rackspace or Intermedia, it's very hard for us to know what type of security compliance the hosted exchange provider offers. Office 365 is a HIPAA and FISMA compliance, which are two very important factors that are requirements for public government sector or for healthcare-related institutions. Right. All right, the big one. So what about Google Apps? Okay. All right. Google, I would say, is the big competitor for Microsoft Office 365. There are some differences and things to know to which I will sum up, I will try to sum up today. Google Apps have different flavors, just like Office 365. They have Google Apps for business, education, government, for example. Google Apps main components on their offering is Gmail, which is their email service, which also bundles instant messaging, video conference, and voice over IP capabilities. It gives you a calendar and their Google Productivity Suite, which was formerly known as Google Docs, and now they call it Google Drive. So the applications that Google Apps and Office 365 are most known for is, of course, their Productivity Suite apps. For Google, they offer Documents, which compares to Word, Spreadsheet compares to Excel, Presentations compares to PowerPoint. Google applications are very easy to navigate and very intuitive for the user for the most part. Very simple, very easy to learn if you're using it for the first time. There are some difference though, and it's important to note. A spreadsheet, Google Spreadsheet especially, does not compare very well with Excel. Spreadsheet provides very basic functionality. If a user is thinking, I'm talking about all of these are available on the web only. So it's a web-based application. They're not local or single app that you can install on your machine and use it for full functionality. You can still use your Office applications and modify them or open it with Google Web Apps, but the formatting will suffer and some other things might not be available. So that's good. It's good to know. So a spreadsheet provides very basic functionality. If a user is thinking on using, for example, very custom pivot tables or data tables, advanced sorting, stuff like that, definitely a spreadsheet from Google is not for them. Google adds forms kind of to provide some of this additional functionality, but it still falls short. Google Presentation. Google Presentation is Office PowerPoint. It compares to that. It also provides the user of very basic functionality when developing presentations. If you want to have custom transitions or animations, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same feeling as using PowerPoint. All right. Like I say, you can still use PowerPoint and open it with presentation, but the formatting might suffer, and some things will not be available. All right. Let's see. Another thing to keep in mind is Outlook and Gmail integration, and I think this is a big one. Gmail is mainly a web-based email service, and using it in an organization where users are heavy Outlook users, then Google Apps and Gmail might not be for your organization. The architecture is different, and it makes it very challenging to integrate with one another. For example, Google uses labels, and Outlook uses folders to organize email. So it's some of that is challenging. Google does offer an Outlook sync tool as an add-on, but in our experience, it doesn't work very seamlessly, and it does require some kind of ongoing support to troubleshoot. Another thing to note with productivity applications on Google Apps is tasks. Task nodes don't integrate very well with Gmail. Google Tasks are very basic. If your users are very heavily Outlook task users and they have reminders and stuff like that, that can be a little challenging. For Google Calendar, Google Apps offers basically the same functionality, including all of the items we're used to with Outlook. The main difference is, I would say, the user interface changed from Outlook to going to the web calendar. You can alleviate some of this by using Chrome and Google Apps desktop tools. So you can have shortcuts and then use Outlook locally, but there's still some things that you can just not. It doesn't translate very well. Let's see. The other thing, if you have third-party programs that you use in your Outlook or third-party add-ins, like Salesforce add-in or Peachtree, QuickBooks, those will not work with Gmail and Outlook. All right. So we have talked about Google's productivity suite. Let's move now to document sharing and document management and sharing and collaboration. All right. Google offers real-time collaboration with the web-based applications and provides a nice color-coded alert when a document is being viewed or edited by another user, so you can see who is working on that document. And that happens real time. And also, it will highlight with that same color when the user, which changes are being made to that particular document. And this all happens real time. So that's good. Microsoft offers a little bit of that but it's not real time. And the difference is it's because Office 365 tries to prevent two authors from editing the same data at one time. So the changes that are being made are visible and also color coded, but that will be available only when the user saves the changes that he's making. So that's kind of the difference between real-time collaboration with both. All right. The other one is also offline editing capabilities. That's another important component. Google supports offline editing for document and spreadsheet only. This is available for Chrome browsers only. Microsoft offers the same thing, but it's available across browsers. So it's important to know also that you can still use your Office applications. You can use them in Google Drive, and for editing as well. All right. So we let's see. We talked a little bit about what we mentioned, Drive, and I wanted to say a little bit about that. Drive is kind of the Google document management tool. Within Drive, you have the Google Productivity Suite. Office 365, same tool is called SkyDrive Pro. It's included on the 2013 update for Office 365. SkyDrive allows for easier access and also search capabilities. Both, I would say, in my opinion, both Drive and Office 365 and SkyDrive have been making a lot of efforts and actually have advanced a lot in this, and try to provide the capabilities that we're all used to with having a file server in-house and having Windows Explorer to help us navigate through the documents. But I don't think it compares. Neither compares to having a file server in-house and using Windows Explorer to search for your documents, in my opinion. So to wrap up this, it is important as you make the decision on migrating either Office 365 or Google Apps, since these are the two big choices out there for cloud offering. It's important to look at your organization, the organization needs, think about the outcomes you want to achieve with this move. If your organization uses Outlook and users are very familiar with Office suites, then Microsoft has made it simple for nonprofits to make the move to their cloud offering by introducing their nonprofit pricing. All right, and I think we have 2 more polls.
Yes, and we also have a few questions.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and launch this poll.
All right, so is your organization considering migrating to Office 365 in the next 6 months? Yes, no, or maybe. And now I'm going to review the questions. All right, let's see. Are you going to show visuals about how Office 365 looks and functions? I don't have it on the PowerPoint slides. If we have time, I can log in to one of my accounts and show you. Let's see. It's Office 365 fully cloud hosted, or are we able to host some parts, i.e. document sharing ourselves? That's a very good question. You can use, if you sign into Office 365 and you decide, I only want to use the email piece, I'm going to continue using my file server here, you can do that. The other pieces are there. If you want to leverage them later, you could. So you can pick and choose. Let's see what else. Let's see. Well, what are the migration challenges and tips in going from an on-site Exchange server to 365 for 100 users? We'll talk about, we will talk about that in a slide later. SharePoint. Is QuickBooks compatible with SharePoint or no? I'm assuming your question is towards saving the database on SharePoint as a document management tool. I would say that if you're if you're looking into Office 365 to use to migrate email and also use SharePoint as a collaboration tool for your documents, then if you're using QuickBooks, your accounting database in-house, I would probably look into QuickBooks Cloud instead. SharePoint, it's a like I said, it's a document collaboration tool. It will not hold your data, and I don't think QuickBooks will like it. All right, so is your organization considering migrating to Office 365 in the next 6 months? 45% say yes, good. And then no, or maybe it's a 30% tie there. So, and Johanny will post those. All right. Next poll. Which component of Office 365 interests you the most? Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Link, all of them, or you just don't know? All right, another question. Can I leverage Office 365 to access my in-house stuff, i.e. on-site Exchange server, SharePoint server? Yeah, so Microsoft Office 365 has different types of migration, I would say. You can have everything hosted on the cloud. You can have a hybrid and have some some data hosted in the cloud and some data hosted on your server room, and that works fine. I mean, it requires a lot of planning and maybe some investment in terms of hardware, but it can be done. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's recap. So we talked about. Oh, sorry. Okay, which component of Office 365 interests you the most? Exchange Online, like I said, is the most important component for an organization, I think, email. So 33% there, followed by SharePoint, SharePoint 17%, Link 6%, and 25% all of them. So it's good. Johanny will post those results. All right. Okay. So let's recap. So we talk about we have review of what is Office 365, what is included with Office 365, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, etc. What is the difference between hosting my email in house or hosting with another provider, and also we spend some time with talking about Google Apps and the key points there. So now let's review what other benefits can we find with Office 365. Let's see. No, okay. So let's review the plans, I guess. Okay. So the Office 365 plans for nonprofits. We have the E1 plan, which is actually free for 501c3 organizations, and it includes Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Link Online, and Office Web Apps. All right. The other offering for nonprofits is the Enterprise 3 plan. The cost per license per month is $5 per user per month, and includes everything included in E1, but it also offers you additional unlimited, they call it unlimited archiving on your mailbox. And that is default to 100 gigs. It's written also in Microsoft Office 365 documentation that if you need additional space, you just have to ask them and they will give you more. And also Office Suite downloads, and you can download 5 instances per user. So I think those are the, kind of the difference between the free plan and the $5 plan, and those are both offered to nonprofits. How do I apply? You follow up with a qualified partner. So let's say you're working with community IT. You will let us know, provide us the information that we need. Again, the organization name, it needs to be a 501c3 nonprofit, your address, your EIN number, which plan are you contemplating on applying for, and the number of seats or licenses needed. How long does it take to be approved? My experience, it takes Microsoft, I would say, from 2 weeks to 45 days on the worst case scenarios. But they've been turning this around very quickly. So yeah, 2 weeks has been kind of the average.
Johanny, 2 questions. One is E1 available in the UK?
Oof.
We can double check.
I can double check that.
Okay. Yeah. And the second question is, we currently pay $4 per user for the E1 plan. How can we switch to the E1 free plan?
Yeah. So I would contact your qualified partner if they have one, and submit this application, the request, and they should, if they meet the requirements, they will get approved, and then they will send you very detailed instructions on what to do with your current account to kind of migrate to the E1 free of charge.
And the next question is, does it have to be a C3 or can it be a C4 or C6?
No, actually it has to be a C3.
Okay.
It's very explicit on the documentation.
Do you need a seat for each staff person or each computer?
You need a seat for each mailbox that is tied to a user. If you have other mailboxes, like for example contact@yourorganization.org or info@yourorganization.org, those are called share mailboxes, and you do not need a license for those mailboxes.
And finally, can you review the difference between the E1 and E5 again?
Yes. All right. So the E1 plan offers all the components except the download of Office Suite. Okay. So it gives you Exchange Online with the 25 gigs per user per mailbox. It gives you the online archiving. It gives you the SharePoint Online. It gives you Link Online and the ability to use Office. So that's the E1 plan. The difference between E1 and E3, E3 will give you additional space on your archiving mailbox. So here you have only 25 gigs, and that is shared between your regular mailbox and your archiving mailbox. All right, and you have Office Suite downloads. You can have 5 instances per user and download Office, install it on your desktop, install it on your Mac. So that's kind of the difference.
What is included in the Office Suite download?
All the Office applications. So let's see, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook, all the Office applications that you have. It will not include. It includes Visio. It will not include Project Tool. There is a Microsoft Project Tool. It does not include that.
If you have Office donated through TechSoup previously, can you connect it to the E1 donation?
Yes. you can, well, you install those locally on your desktop, and you can integrate them with your cloud. Yes. Yes.
And finally, how does Office 365 integrate with Salesforce database?
Yeah, I would say the same with QuickBooks. You know, if you have a Salesforce database, then and you're looking into moving into a cloud, then the best thing to do is kind of check on Salesforce in the cloud and see their offerings.
Mm-hmm. Does it include MS Access?
Yes. Yes. Yes, it does.
And does the Office downloads, Office Suite downloads, does that have to be on the business PCs, or can it be on staff or personal PCs?
You have 5 instances. So if you use a desktop, you can install it there. A laptop, if you have another Mac in the house, yeah, you can
do both business and personal.
And personal. I mean, it depends on your organization policy, but you can, in theory, yes, download it. All right. Let's move it along. All right. So what other costs are out there in terms of migrating to Office 365? You know, not only you apply. You apply. You want the E3 plan. You have to pay for license. But there's also some labor costs, associated with this migration. And some things that we consider when we migrate organizations is, how many mailboxes are we migrating? How complex is your current setup? Do you have email in-house, or you hosting with somebody else? Do you have a lot of contacts and you're hosting Exchange with another provider, and we have to manually enter a lot of information, and that kind of drive the cost a little higher? Do you have several public folders that need to be migrated? SharePoint, do you want us to, create, for example, a team site for your organization because you want to, kind of leverage what SharePoint has to offer? And of course, support needs. That is something that I think differentiate us from other providers, is that we have a lot of user, we focus a lot on the user, and so with the migration, we also include a lot of time for hand-holding while we're doing the migration. When we did finalize the migration, what the user needs, or training and stuff like that. All right.
I think we've already covered that.
Oh, we already, okay, good. So it seems like we already answered a lot of questions. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how we handle the process of migrating you to Office 365. Let's see. Community IT focus on these 4 areas. We focus a lot on planning before doing the migration. We want to understand the organizational needs. We do a lot of preparation up front before the implementation. We have a very short timeline when we make the cutover or the implementation, and to minimize interruptions of email or anything related to Office 365 migration, and of course user support. So to illustrate our approach, I will run through a case study for an organization we migrated to Office 365 successfully and recently. All right. So this organization's environment, they had Windows Server 2003. They were using Exchange 2007. They have I would say closely to 300 mailboxes. They were using a mix of Office 2007 and 2010, and they were on Windows 7. So let's see. This organization was a 501c3, so they qualify for the nonprofit pricing, so the premium was not a factor in their decision. So that is important to know. This organization, the staff here uses Outlook and Office Suite very heavily. This organization runs also domestic and international programs, and they have participants, in different continents, and these participants need to access email via, Outlook web access. right. Some of the challenges, with the current setup, especially around aging of the hardware and software. The email server was running Windows Server 2003. The warranty had previously expired already, and it was renewed before, so there was no escape for the upgrade. Their Exchange application was stable, but was behind already 2 versions from the new software. Another challenge was also licensing. Even though this organization qualified for charity pricing with TechSoup only covered for half of what they needed. So they needed to, make some investments in terms of licensing as well. Program participants was another challenge. Participants were able to view documents. They needed to collaborate and do some document sharing, but we were using Outlook Web Access, the document sharing option for 2007, and participants were able to view the documents, but these were read-only. So there was not a mechanism for collaboration in place. And this, of course, created additional issues, such as the participants were using other means for collaboration, Dropbox, and this was against the organization's policy. Participants' access to email, especially from other continents, were very slow or unreliable. Okay. All right. So we went through the planning process, and there's some questions to consider when you plan for Office 365. Does the organization meet the requirements for nonprofit? Are they a 501c3? It's the internet speed enough? Are they hosting email somewhere else? Do they have applications that require add-ins, like Salesforce and stuff like that? What type of deployment makes the most sense? Cloud-based, federated, or hybrid? And we haven't talked about the different deployments and migration types, so I'm going to just quickly run through those. When I say cloud-based, that means that everything is in the cloud. So if we're talking about email, all your email moves, the data moves to the cloud, and there's no more email in-house. Anytime you access email, it's going to Office 365 servers. The difference here is that you will have two different passwords. Your password is not tied, your cloud-based or Office 365 password is not tied to your network password. So that is important to know. And everything that you do around managing your cloud offering, it's through your admin, Office 365 admin console. So if I am the IT administrator or the network administrator and I have to create some accounts or email, I'm using Office 365. I'm not using anything in-house. Okay, so that's cloud-based. The other one is a federated migration. Federated migration means that you're implementing single sign-on, which this means that you're establishing a trust between your servers and Microsoft Office 365 servers, and this will allow you to use the same password, manage your accounts on premises or also in the cloud. But with this federated type of migration, you have to incur an additional cost for hardware. You need additional servers. You have to put more servers in your server room to install some roles that will allow you to build that trust with Office 365. So that's kind of federated. And then hybrid is kind of the same as the last slide, but you can have the ability to have some accounts in-house and some other accounts in the cloud. And you can pick and choose which users to move to the cloud, etc. And it's very seamless. It's a very good integration. All right, so let's continue with the case study. All right, so the migration plan. Okay, so here with this case study, this organization decided that they don't want to spend money and additional hardware, so they're just going to go with a cloud-based option. They're going to migrate all their email accounts to Office 365. They want to create a SharePoint site for their program and so that participants can use SharePoint to collaborate with documents, and they want us to be heavily involved with users so that we can support them along the way of the migration and provide training. All right, so that was the plan. How do we prepare for this migration after we outline the plan? There were some things to do, three main things were, one, we have to test the existing environment to make sure we correct any issues beforehand. We have to prepare the existing environment to make it ready. If your organization has Windows XP machines, you have to make sure that that either you upgrade them to Windows 7 or you apply the latest service packs that allow you to use Office 365. And when I say upgrade to Windows 7, because Microsoft is actually staffing their support for any Windows XP clients and Server 2003 instances. So it's important to kind of start preparing for that. Cleaning accounts, cleaning mailboxes, and a lot of kind of preparation there. And then the third one is, you want to make sure you audit the user needs, permissions, specifically, what type of delegations on the mailboxes are there, any specific permissions, calendar sharing, and support for mobile devices. Okay. All right. How do we implement after we have prepared for that? Again, we scheduled a cutover. Everything is taken care of. We switch your mail records to point to Office 365 and do some work in the client desktop, and voila, you're ready to go. So if you do a very good planning, you understand what your organization needs, you prepare ahead of time and clean everything that you need to clean, iron all the wrinkles, your implementation should be a breeze, and it should, let's say you schedule it for the weekend, it should go really quick. All right. And staff support was the other one. We provide staff orientation before the migration. We provide very detailed how-to guides, on-site support, and training. So what happened after we migrate this organization? Well, the program participants were very happy. They've been using the SharePoint site. We created a blog, we created a calendar, we created document libraries with different permission sets, and it's been very successful. Mailbox size and online archiving has also, been very good for the organization, and especially Outlook Web Access for the participants that are in another continent, which are using other Microsoft servers out there that to have faster access, reliability and accessibility across the globe. All right. And that's it. I made it. 1 minute.
We have just a few questions as we get near the end. One is, after you have Office 365, are there costs related to user support, extra fees and support levels, for example?
User support, no. It's all included on the enterprise plan, yes.
What bandwidth is recommended for Office 365?
There is on the resource slide, there is a link that actually Microsoft put together. So if you click there, you can actually run that tool in your organization and check to see if the bandwidth is it's adequate.
Okay. And finally, this is regarding Microsoft CRM. They use GiftWorks for their donation needs. The info that they got from Microsoft CRM can handle donations. Would Microsoft CRM be able to connect with GiftWorks, or would it need to have an alternative donation system? I don't think that's related to Office 365. So we may respond to that individually to you after the webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact Johanny. Here's her contact information.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Roshani. All right.
And the next webinar we have coming up is on September 26th, which is a dive into Windows 8.1. And the presenter is going to be Senior Engineer David Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
And here are some ways to connect with us. There will be a short survey after the webinar, so feel free to give us feedback. And we did get one other question, I think that was asked earlier. What are the migration challenges and tips in going from an on-site Exchange server to Office 365 for 100+ users?
Yeah, I think we answered that there. I mean, I think one of the challenges is, how the hardware costs and, how much are you willing to spend to keep that hybrid environment. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you all so much. If your question wasn't answered, we're happy to follow up with you afterwards. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.